And welcome back. This summer, older men are leading the movie lineups. It started this weekend with Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Here's a look at the silver hair dominating the silver screen by the numbers. At 80 years old, Harrison Ford is leading the Indiana Jones franchise into its 5th film, which brought in $60 million over its opening weekend in the U.S. And 6-year-old Tom Cruise will be pulling off stunts in Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning. The franchise's 7th installment hits theaters next week. And 68-year-old Denzel Washington will dole out vigilante justice in The Equalizer 3 to be released in September. And when entertainment research company NRG asked fans spanning 3 generations who they most want to watch in a theater, the answer was stars from the 1980s. In fact, 19 of the top 20 movie stars people most wanted to see were over 40 years old. Tom Cruise had the highest seat-filling potential, followed by 51-year-old Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson and 66-year-old Tom Hanks. Morgan Freeman, who is 86, also made the top list. And while Hollywood's aging men seem to be dominating the screen, leading roles for women over 45 remain rare. In 2021, you were nearly 4 times more likely to see an older male than female in the lead, according to the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative. The only bright spot here is those roles seem to be improving. Stars like 85-year-old Jane Fonda, 77-year-old Helen Mirren, and 6-year-old Michelle Yeoh are all drawing viewers with strong older female roles. Now, the longtime leading men and women of Hollywood giving a new meaning to the adage, oldie but goodie. We have a lot more ahead here on Prime tonight. A new test that could help detect a life-threatening condition, preeclampsia. We'll talk about what the FDA just approved. And the back and forth over restrictions on how many posts Twitter users can view, where things stand now. But first, a look at our top trending stories on abcnews.com.
What does it take to be America's #1 news? It takes asking the straightforward, tough questions.
Do you believe that Donald Trump should ever be president again?
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah.
Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
The news-making interviews.
You said that there were 6 friends. One of them was sick.
Yeah.
Do you have future political aspirations?
Going to the front line.
The search for survivors.
How does this war end?
And getting to the heart of the story.
Thank you for being here. We'll be here for the long run.
ABC News, #1 in the morning, the #1 newscast, #1 in daytime talk, Friday nights, Sunday mornings versus the competition, and the #1 streaming news. Thank you for making ABC News America's trusted, straightforward first choice.
With so much happening these days, it's hard to keep up.
Things change hour by hour, minute by minute.
The historic weather that's now unfolding.
The worries on Wall Street.
We're bringing you the Right Now. Been a nationwide teacher shortage.
The Right Now look at the day ahead. An alert this morning for dog owners and the key takeaways from the biggest stories.
World News Now and America This Morning, America's #1 early morning news.
Today does feel a little different. Early mornings on ABC News Live. This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital, destructive Cat 4 storm.
You're along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. 4 students stabbed to death in their beds while 2 roommates were home.
You gotta think to yourself, okay, who's the target and how many people would a man go through to get to his target?
I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. This is The King Road Killings, a new podcast from ABC Audio. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Get ready, America, every Friday.
The hottest trends, styles, and must-have. What's the right stuff to buy right now? I really love that. It's time to buy the right stuff.
Yes!
And save big time, too.
The right stuff.
Fridays on GMA. You're going to love it.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights. From America's #1 news source comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and it can customize to you and your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience what all the buzz is about. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now.
And welcome back. A dangerous discovery on the country's biggest roller coaster. The search for the suspect who threw explosives at several businesses. And a new test could be a game changer for pregnant women. These stories and more in tonight's rundown.
The investigation continues into a crack discovered on one of the biggest roller coasters in the country. The Fury 325 at Carowinds in North Carolina was shut down for the weekend after a fracture was discovered in a support beam. Multiple videos on social media show the apparent crack with the coaster passing close by. WSOC reported that a team from the North Carolina Department of Labor was joining the investigation at the park. It's unclear what caused the crack and when the ride would be repaired and reopened. Washington, D.C. police are looking for a suspect who allegedly threw explosives at multiple businesses in the district. The Metropolitan Police Department said the suspect detonated explosives outside of a Truist Bank ATM and a Nike store, then threw a Molotov cocktail-style object at a Safeway store, all in a 15-minute span early Sunday morning. Police said 3 businesses were damaged by the explosives, but were closed at the time. No injuries were reported, and sources tell ABC News the explosives appear to be isolated to these 3 incidents.
More changes at Twitter. Owner Elon Musk saying AI companies have been using content to train their language models. So the platform will now limit how many daily tweets a user can read. 1,000 for unverified accounts and 10,000 for paid subscribers.
Those numbers are up considerably from Musk's original limits announced Saturday of 6,000 posts for verified accounts and just 600 posts for unverified accounts. Musk's original tweet described the limits as temporary, but did not indicate how long they would be in place.
A blood test recently approved by the FDA could help doctors identify if a pregnant woman might develop the life-threatening condition preeclampsia. The test may help doctors determine if a woman will develop the condition within 2 weeks. Preeclampsia happens when a pregnant woman with normal blood pressure suddenly develops high blood pressure after 20 weeks of pregnancy. It occurs in 1 out of every 25 pregnancies in the U.S., at a rate 60% higher for black women than white women.
Walgreens says it plans to cut costs by closing 150 U.S. stores. The company has nearly 9,000 stores in the U.S. About 1,100 of them are operating with reduced hours.
The cost-cutting measures come amid the pharmacy giant's release of its third-quarter earnings, which revealed that its net earnings were down compared to the same period last year. Walgreens is also reportedly planning to close 300 locations in the UK.
Robert De Niro's 19-year-old grandson, Leandro De Niro Rodriguez, has died. Leandro's death was confirmed by both his grandfather and his mother, actress Drina De Niro. No cause of death has been given. Leandro appeared with his mother in films including A Star is Born. Robert De Niro said in a statement that he was deeply distressed by the passing of his beloved grandson.
And also tonight, as Americans prepare to celebrate the 4th of July, 2 musicians take a journey around the country to some of the most celebrated musical cities and write their own anthem with the diverse sounds of the nation. Stephanie Ramos sat down with the pair behind it all.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, our national anthem.
The symbolic importance of the anthem for so many people emotionally moves me. We're traveling through the country to connect with different musicians. Our goal is to write an anthem, something that's representative of our country today.
In this film, you follow 2 incredible musicians studying the national anthem. How did you come up with this idea to try and come up with a new national anthem?
People have passionate, positive and negative feelings about this song, but pretty quickly, I got into a state of mind, because I'm a creator, of not thinking about the Star Spangled Banner itself, but thinking about the creation of an anthem for today and what would that be. And then that quickly got into this notion of like a journey, a film that's a journey of a road trip.
And Ryan, what was that process like for you when you were approached with the idea of coming up with a new national anthem?
For us at Prox, we're just trying to bring audiences in closer proximity to stories that are often overlooked. For us, it was just about supporting them. What we loved about it, and what makes us proud of the film, is it examines a question, but then actually tries to do something about it. You know, tries to be proactive and constructive, and it's very brave in that and ambitious. You know, we were really happy with the song that was made as a result of it.
So now, as you guys are coming up with a new national anthem, was that a concern at all that there would be this sort of backlash from people that want to keep it traditional?
I don't think so.
You think
I think you always offend somebody, no matter what side of the fence you're on.
Not really. I mean, like the thing that was so exciting about it was the creative process. Like I'm a filmmaker, and every time I start a film, I get incredibly excited about the potential to create something, even if it's stepping into difficult spaces, sort of taking a non-polemic approach to the storytelling and putting the humanity behind these issues forward. So that's sort of the state of mind that we went into. It wasn't even so much thinking so deeply about what made America so divided about this song, but by the potential of creating a song for today, an anthem for today that was a reflection of the diversity of the country.
Let's get some vocals down.
And Ryan, what were your thoughts? Did you at all think about how it would be received?
No. Yeah, like we got a lot of faith in Pete as a filmmaker. The film it is one that is made with a sense of optimism, you know, and honesty. And as I was, you know, the film kind of starts with a little bit of education about the Star Spangled Banner. And you learn what its origins are and the roots of it, just musically, and the fact that the music is from a British drinking song. The prospect of, you know, making something, a song about us today, you know, that is inspired by the roots of American music, you know, music that's from here. You know, we were excited about that. Like in Pete is always an honest filmmaker, but one that approaches things from a place of optimism. We're jumping with joy to get into it, to be honest with you.
Let's talk about the musicians that you paired up to go on this journey, how you came up with these two brilliant minds to tour the country and try to come up with a national anthem. What was that process like?
Kind of coincidentally, I'd known Chris for a number of years. Proximity has worked with Chris. He scored their Space Jam movie. Yeah. He's just a remarkably gifted young composer and jazz pianist.
So the film goes to some of the country's most iconic cities, from Detroit, Nashville, New Orleans, also the state of Oklahoma. There's so many different voices and sounds in this country. What was that process like in trying to decide what goes into this anthem? What pieces of the country will go into this new national anthem?
It was an evolution, and, you know, as a team, we had to reflect on that question, because right off the bat, it seems impossible to have a song that represents everyone's experience. And what we decided was that we wanted to come up with a framework that could create something that's malleable, that could be transferable. The questions of genre, location, we couldn't check every box, but that we wanted to create an idea that could be adopted. And I'm adopted. I was literally adopted as a child. My birth mother was white, my birth father was black, and I was raised by a black family. And I think that spirit is so much about what we're trying in our country, struggling to sort of make connections across racial stories, across class stories, historical stories. But we knew there were some roots in there, that we knew Native American music. We knew that blues was some sort of root. And so there were choices that we made, and there were other places where we couldn't necessarily rock music. We didn't delve into hip hop. So some of those decisions were difficult, but we believe we've created a framework that could be transferable, so that, you know, artists from those genres could take this song, do a rendition of it, and make it their own.
Do you think it's an accurate representation of where we are today?
It's an expression. It's like a frame on the quilt, you know, and it's so interesting. Even the Star-Spangled Banner, in its performance, people make it their own. And even though the melody's there and the lyrics are there, you can see Jimi Hendrix perform it. Jose Feliciano. Marvin Gaye. Whitney Houston. What they're doing is they're sort of recognizing a sort of disconnect from the foundation of the song with their lived experience. And I think the intention behind saying, well, what is an anthem? What is the American story? Not only led to this particular song, but also leads to the reality that there is not just one, and there shouldn't be just one anthem, you know, for a nation as diverse and complicated as America.
And our thanks to Stephanie Ramos for that conversation. And that's our show for this hour. Stay tuned to ABC News Live for more context and analysis of the day's top stories. I'm Kana Whitworth, and thank you for streaming with us.
This is ABC News Live Prime.
Thanks so much for streaming with us.
Live reporting, breaking news, exclusives, award-winning, powerful, eye-opening. ABC News Live Prime with Lindsay Davis. Streaming weeknights. From America's #1 news comes the all-new ABC News app. Breaking news, incredible video, faster, smarter, and customizable to your interests. If you love being in the know, you're gonna love this. Experience the all-new ABC News app. Download it now. This is where the newsmakers come first in the morning to be heard. America's #1 morning show.
How would your mom feel about your relationship with your brother now?
I can't imagine what it feels like to go from $20 billion to $100,000.
Yeah.
Are you worried about going to jail?
You write that you had low-grade depression. How'd you get out of that?
Wherever the story, ABC's Good Morning America is right there.
This is ABC News Live.
The crush of families here in Poland.
At refugee centers.
In Putin's Russia.
On the ground in Ukraine.
Close to the front line.
From the capital.
Destructive Cat 4 storm.
Here along I-5.
Boston is in the bullseye.
Let's go.
ABC News Live, America's #1 streaming news. Anytime, anywhere. Streaming 24/7, straight to you for free.
Thank you for making ABC News Live America's #1 streaming news.
You never know what you're going to get on this show. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Yes, Whoopi!
This mic on? Can you hear me out there?
Behind the scenes is always a better show.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
That's what people don't see during the commercial break.
Right. They don't.
What happened?
I had no idea really what I was getting myself into. That day that we walked out, I treasure that day. I couldn't sit there.
You're doing good, Joy. You're doing good. Oh, yeah, baby.
It was crazy.
Behind the Table. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out now.
The What Would You Do Marathon, 2 to 6 Eastern, every Saturday on ABC News Live.
My favorite show.
When I got sent to Idaho to cover the murders of 4 college students, it was a story that didn't make any sense. This is the story of savage murders, a determined small-town police force, and a scholar of crime. I'm Kana Whitworth with ABC News.
I just found out.
This is The King Road Killings, a new podcast from ABC Audio. Listen now wherever you get your podcasts.
Reporting from Santa Fe, New Mexico, I'm Lindsay Davis. Wherever the story is, we'll take you there. You're streaming ABC News Live.
This morning on World News Now, holiday activities under threat from severe weather coast to coast, powerful storms rolling across the east and in the west. More than 30 million people are facing heat alerts. Las Vegas hitting 112. How the weather is even impacting fireworks.
Breaking overnight, a deadly mass shooting in Philadelphia. Officers say a shooter opened fire wearing a bulletproof vest and carrying a police radio. How he was captured.
Israel carries out its most intense military raid in the West Bank in decades, with drones and hundreds of troops, the latest on casualties.
Good news from a rising NFL star diagnosed with cancer found during a team physical. What he's revealing about his health.
And in the skinny, a new look at the Barbie movie. Plus, an American icon sharing some thoughts on this Tuesday, 4th of July.
Take it and no giving. They just use your mind and they never give you credit. It's enough to drive you crazy if you let it.
From ABC News, this is World News Now.
Happy 4th of July, everyone. You know who's working 9 to 5?
We are. It's like the opposite, though, 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. It's a little bit backwards. Gotta love Dolly Parton to start the day, though.
Oh, I know. And I actually love that story because we've been talking so much about artificial intelligence. And I love that she's weighing in because a lot of artists are right now. Because
Would you allow them to make you a hologram or AI news anchor in another lifetime?
No. Once I'm gone, I'm gone. Just... You can roll the tape, open up the vault.
You can do whatever you want as long as you're not taking like my DNA and stuff.
Right. Oh, you don't want to clone?
No clone. There's enough noise around with my big mouth.
Oh, we'll tell you what Dolly had to say about that AI coming up in just a few minutes. But we do want to begin because this is crucially important. It's a part of any July 4th plans. Of course, you're going to spend the day outside, so the weather.
Yeah, everyone has been checking their phones. Unsettled conditions, though, unfortunately, from the nation's capital up to Boston. Pretty much the same for the Midwest and the Plains.
Meanwhile, extreme heat is baking most of the West. Portland, Oregon could set a record high today.
This morning, holiday plans under threat with millions of Americans on alert for severe storms and dangerous heat. Powerful storms rolling across the east, wind and rain slamming areas north of New York City.
Oh my goodness, get it, slow down, slow down.
In Virginia, heavy rain making travel treacherous. And across the border in North Carolina, strong winds and hail, power outages stretching from the East Coast to Missouri. More than 100,000 customers left in the dark. Today, the Midwest and Plains face the biggest threat.
You reset in the Midwest, Minneapolis back through Denver, damaging winds and isolated tornadoes possible there.
Across the West, more than 30 million people facing heat alerts. Las Vegas hitting 112 degrees yesterday. A woman succumbing to the heat while hiking in the Grand Canyon in triple-digit temperatures. Meanwhile, fire warnings have been issued in the Pacific Northwest. This wildfire in Washington state burning several structures. Dry conditions have prompted more cities to replace their July 4th fireworks displays with drone shows to reduce the risk of fires.
There's less noise pollution. There's less pollution in general. And we can run it every single night versus a fireworks show where we can run maybe once.
But if drones aren't your thing and you're looking to beat the heat, the slopes are open in parts of California for some July 4th skiing, thanks to last year's epic snowfall, which measured more than 56 feet.
The slopes look nice, don't they? Well, we mentioned the heat across the West, so take a look at these temperatures. This is the next 3 days, mostly triple digits from Oregon to the Southwest. Humidity in the Northwest today is expected to be as low as 15%. That is very dangerous for wildfires.
We are following some breaking news from overnight. A deadly mass shooting in Philadelphia left 4 men dead. Evidence markers showing where up to 50 shell casings were found. Police say a gunman wearing a bulletproof vest arrived in that area with a rifle and a handgun. They say he also had a police scanner. 4 other people were hurt, including 2 children who were shot. They are fortunately now in stable condition. Officers, though, arrested that gunman in an alley. No word yet on a motive for the shootings.
And a beloved police sergeant in southern Indiana is being mourned this morning after being fatally shot in the line of duty. Sergeant Heather Glenn of the Tell City, Indiana Police Department responded to a disturbance at a hospital early yesterday. During an altercation, she exchanged gunfire with a suspect. Both of them died at the scene. Glenn was a 20-year veteran of the department.
We've lost a dear colleague, a dear friend. Sergeant Lynn is, she's a cornerstone of our department.
Police say Glenn's interaction with the gunman started when she investigated a domestic dispute involving a woman and the suspect. They say she tried to arrest him at the hospital, and that is when gunfire broke out.
Turning overseas to the massive escalation in the Middle East, the most expansive military operation in the West Bank in 2 decades. Hundreds of Palestinians are fleeing as Israel takes aim at a densely populated refugee camp with deadly force. ABC's James Longman has more.
Israel's largest military operation into Palestinian territory in years is underway. Israeli defense forces have mounted multiple air and drone strikes on Jenin city in the occupied West Bank. As many as 2,000 Israeli troops sent in, engaged in street battles, targeting what they call terrorist infrastructure in the refugee camp next to the city. Precision is difficult, with 17,000 people living in less than a quarter square mile. Palestinian officials say 8 people have been killed and more than 60 injured. The Israeli raid today was a very tough one, this man says. Tough for medics as well as civilians inside the camp.
Jenin has become a symbol of Palestinian resistance. Disillusioned with the Palestinian Authority, who they feel has failed them, some young men joined terror groups who've carried out attacks against Israelis in more than a year of escalating violence.
We are striking the terrorism hub with a great strength.
Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas has called on Israel to stop the aggression, saying it's Israel that sponsors terrorism in the region. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who's facing ongoing protests, is under pressure by far-right members of his government who believe the entire West Bank should be under Israeli control. He's pledged to continue this operation as long as required.
This has been one of the deadliest years in more than a decade for Palestinians living in the occupied West Bank. More than 140 people dead in just the last 6 months alone. The White House says they're monitoring this situation closely. James Longman, ABC News in London.
All right, James, thank you. The U.S. ambassador to Russia met with detained Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich at a prison in Moscow. It is their second visit since he was charged with espionage. She said he is in good health and remains strong. He was arrested back in March and could face 20 years in prison if convicted. The U.S. has declared him wrongfully detained.
Well, the wait time to get a U.S. passport is putting summer travel plans in jeopardy. The passport office is scrambling to keep up after being flooded with more than 500,000 applications per week. The State Department is blaming the backlog on lingering pandemic-related staffing shortages and a pause in online processing. It says it's now hiring more agents and opening up more appointments.
The Florida Keys are now officially more than 200 years old, and they celebrated only how the Keys can.
Yeah, a big happy birthday to them. A Keys bicentennial celebration yesterday featured this. That is a traditional key lime pie, one of my favorites. It measured more than 13 feet in diameter. The celebration's organizers hope to have the pie certified as a world record holder.
Hopefully they break that record. July 3rd is recognized as the Keys' birthday because it is the day the Florida Monroe County was established, which was back in 1823.
I love the Florida Keys. My middle daughter, her middle name is Duval for Duval Street. I'm a big fan, and I'm also a big key lime.
I love key lime pie as well, and I grew up going to the Keys growing up. Such a great memory.
Do you have a favorite island or a favorite city?
I don't remember.
Yeah. No,
just take me anywhere near a beach.
Is beautiful.
All of them are beautiful. Yes, as long as there's water, I'm happy.
Coming up next, a 15-year-old boy who was bitten by a shark.
Also, an update from the rising NFL star in his cancer battle. We have some good news from him coming up.
Plus, later in The Skinny, the documentary that poses the question, does America need a new national anthem? And on this 4th of July, some trivia for you. What day did John Adams prefer to be Independence Day? We'll tell you the answer straight ahead. You're watching World News Now. I have no idea.
Whenever news breaks,
The crushing families here in Poland.
Here in Kentucky, no match for the tornado.
From Monterey Park, California, on the ground in Ukraine.
Reporting from Uvalde, Texas.
ABC News Live is right there everywhere.
From the scene of that deadly missile strike in Dnipro, Ukraine.
Reporting from the earthquake in Turkey.
From Charleston, South Carolina, on the 2024 campaign trail.
From Kathmandu, Nepal.
Truckee, California, covering record snowfall.
Traveling with the president in Mexico City.
Wherever the story.
Here at this airport in Tampa, it's already shut down.
Reporting from the nurses on the picket line.
Reporting from Jerusalem.
Here at 10 Downing Street in London.
Streaming live to you.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is.
Wherever the story is. We're going to take you there.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live.
You're streaming ABC News Live.
ABC News Live. Streaming free everywhere. America's #1 streaming news.
All right, here we go. You ready? Let's do it.
Yes, it's the show America wants and America needs right now.
This is What Would You Do? Let's go. How are you? Yes.
So what will you be watching Saturdays on ABC News Live?
What would you do?
Hey, I guess I just found out.
The What Would